Oh goodness. So I had some, like, I guess backstory that I'm supposed to share, right? Like, what brought me here, right? What brought me here to be in front of you to share these scriptures and these relations to life and these messages from God, right? Like, when I tell you that I have been all kind of people throughout my life, right? Because of my own choices and my own hurt and my own emotional unintelligence, right? So it took me a lot of healing. I had a lot of healing to do when God put his hand on me, because I went to God and I told God that I could not do it no more, right? Like, I could not do it anymore. Like, I could not take another heartbreak. I could not take another injury. Like, I could not take another disappointment, another letdown. Like, God, I need you to help me, right? And so, and this was in like 2015. So, God did, right? He did. He allowed me to go back active duty in the military. And when I went back active duty in the military, y'all got sick, right? I did not understand. Like, when I say I got sick, like, I was having joint problems, right? Like, it started with my right knee, and then it just kind of spread, right? Like, okay, so they put me in physical therapy, and then I got worse. Like, the pain went from my right knee to my hips to my hands. Like, my hands was swelling, my feet was swelling. Like, I didn't know what was going on, right? Like, it was really, like, traumatic, because it really, like, physically handicapped me, right? I was so sad because I was away from my children, right? Like, I had to leave my children. For the first time, I really had to leave them because, going active duty, I had to go back to basic training. Well, I had to go through basic training, so I had to be gone from them. Then during school, I had to be gone from them. And it was emotionally traumatic for me, being away from them like that. And so, I'm going to all these doctors trying to figure out what's going on with my joints, right? And so after about like 27 different prescriptions and like 30 different doctors, y'all, they was like, you know what? We don't know what's wrong with you. Like, it's in your mind, maybe. Like, I'm like, no. This ain't in my mind, bro. Like, this is crazy. Like, because I used to be able to do stuff for myself, and now I'm struggling to lift my arms up and put my clothes on and all this stuff, right? So this is not normal, and you can't tell me this is normal, right? But they did. They said this was normal, right? So they told me that I need to go see psychiatry because I was losing my mind, right? No. I went to see psychiatry though, because they stopped all my medical care until I went to see psychiatry, because they was determined to prove that this was anxiety that was making me hurt all over my body, right? So I went to psychiatry. When I went to psychiatry, just so happened that morning when I woke up to go to psychiatry, my hands were swollen, y'all. So I go in there and I show her my hands. The psychiatrist looked at me. She said, "Baby, this is not in your mind. This is not anxiety. Something is going on with your body. Like, because your anxiety will not make your hands swell. Like, if you got anxiety and depression, it's because something is wrong with your body and they don't know what's wrong with your body. Anybody would have anxiety and depression if they was in chronic pain, right? So now, okay, now my mind is settled and I know, like, I'm not crazy, right? So I'm asking God because, I had prayed to God and I thought he was blessing me by letting me go back in the military and giving me the means to take care of me and my kids, right? Without having to depend on other people. But now it was crashing, right? So, God, what's going on? So I did. I started stress eating, right? I gained weight. Like, I'm really going through it now because I'm gaining all this weight. The military got me sitting down because they like, well, you already broken, so we can't break you no more. So I'm just like eating and I'm stressed out and I'm crying. And so now they give me the depression medicine, right? So I'm like, I think I got every right to be sad, right? Like, people don't understand what I'm going through. People telling me this is in my mind, like, And I know that my body is hurting because I'm 25, right? Like, so I know that what pain is, right? So anyway, like, so long story short, I end up getting sent home from the military. And that psychiatrist, she helped me a lot, filling out my paperwork, like listing all my disabilities as far as my hands, my feet, my knees, all of that stuff, right? So I end up coming out the military 100%. Well, 90% in the beginning, and then when I filed again for an increase, I got the increase to 100%, right? So this was in 2017 that this happened, right? So now, you know, I didn't see what God was doing, but he was doing something, right? Because now I got this 100% disability, right? In my mind, I'm thinking like I can go back to the prison where I used to work at, and I'm making great money. I'll be able to take care of my kids, provide for them. I won't need to depend on nobody, none of that, right? But God wasn't done, right? He wasn't done. He had to separate me, right? So I went back home, right? Things was going horrible, right? They was falling apart again, right? So 2018, I done got back with my baby daddy, like bad mood because he was not good to me. He has his own struggles. So he hasn't been able to be like the man I wanted, right? So, and I knew that, but he was my help and I depended on him a lot. And for some reason, I was so like attached to him and I didn't even understand why, right? Which I did find out later why I was so attached to him, and God broke that attachment, right? So, but anyway, so I'm on the four-wheeler with him and he going fast and I'm telling him like, you need to slow down, we about to turn right. We both been, so we a little lit. So, but anyway, I fell off that four-wheeler, y'all, and I almost died, right? I broke my neck, my knee like was destroyed, right? Like my MCL, ACL, and meniscus was all torn up in my right knee, right? Remember, this the same knee I done had problems with, right? And so, like, during this time, like, I go to the hospital, I'm struggling. They was telling me at the time wasn't nothing wrong with my knee, but I could barely walk on it, right? But they told me in order to get out the hospital, I had to walk. And I had kids, and I couldn't really depend on nobody to take care of my kids, so I had to walk, right? So with this knee all messed up and they saying ain't nothing wrong with it now, I walked, right? And I walked on this knee for 2 months, right? For 2 months, I was going back and forth to the doctor telling them, like, something wrong with this knee, right? So through all of this, right, I'm struggling with family because I need help because physically, God done, once again, set me down physically. Now, when he first brought me back, I was financially well, so I was helping everybody out because that's who I am, right? No, because that's what I want to do, right? I want to help everybody. If I can help them, I want to help them. But now that I'm physically dying again, right? Like, I need help because I'm physically dying, but I'm feeling like everybody gone now. Like, if the people that come around, I got to pay them to come around and help me or whatever. But I sat down with my children. I had them prepare my children before surgery because we had a townhouse, so I know I wasn't going to be able to walk up and down the stairs. But I had prepared them on how they can go upstairs and shower and get ready for bed and stuff, right? Like, because they was little, but they was prepared. So I just figured, like, if nobody don't be here to help, I still got them, right? Because my baby daddy was gone, right? He out of there. He done went through my phone. He done found stuff from 2015 and like years back, and now he out of here because I'm cheating, right? But you just want to be out of here, like, once again, like, that's that narcissistic stuff, right? But I had to learn, right? Because I had been bred in dysfunction, so I looked at that as love. Like, the way he treated me was how I had been used to being treated, so I looked at that as love, right? Like, this is the love that I deserve, right? Because these are choices that I done made, right? So I'm feeling like this is just what my life is, right? And I just got to accept it, right? But no, like, God is blessing me in the midst of this, right? So God started showing me, like, okay, I done gave you the means that you don't have to depend on others. So why did you put yourself back in the same situation, right? So now God is putting it in my heart to get out of the situation, right? This is how I applied for the apartment, right, in Florida, because I had a friend staying in Florida and I would go visit, and I loved Florida. So, but I didn't get approved for the apartment. Now, I done worked on my credit because I've been preparing to do this. So, when I didn't get approved, I was hurt. Like, I appealed it and everything. So, I'm in the appeal process because me and the people, like, they done looked at stuff. They don't know why I didn't get approved. I had forgot that I even had filled out this paper about a house, right? Veterans Realty. I had filled out a paper because I went to an open house, right? Just going to look, right? Just being nosy, right? Because one day I'm going to have a house, right? This is my dreams or whatever. So I'm going just to look or whatever. And I done filled out this paper. I ain't really think about buying a house. I was trying to get this apartment, right? So this lady emails me like 2 weeks after I got denied for the apartment and tells me like I was approved that I could go forward with buying a house. So, I'm shocked, right? Like, so I'm shocked, and I don't know, like, I'm like, okay, God, like, push through, God, right? Like, I'm listening, like, okay, God, if you give me this house, now I'm back on it, right? Like, if you give me this house, like, Lord, I'm gonna do right. Like, this was when I had the run in with the weed man, and I told him, how I was feeling, and he told me like that scripture, Matthew 6, I think it is, when he said like, if God take care of the birds, and my Bible right here, I'm gonna look. Said if God take care of the birds, and why I don't think he gonna take care of me, right? This what he told me. And so when they called me, right, I was still scared because I didn't want to move too far away from Augusta, right? Because that's where, I'm from Waynesboro, but I didn't want to move too far away from my family just in case. So Columbia, I had went there one time, right, to this Marvel show. I had took my kids there to this Marvel show one time. So I had been there. It was only like an hour and a half away. So it was either Florida or Columbia is what I had put in my mind, right? Because I was scared. I was scared. I ain't know nothing about Columbia, but I also ain't know nothing about staying in Florida either, right? So I was scared to move too far away from my family and not be able to, like, reach back out to them if I need them or if they need me. And so I let fear send me to Columbia, right? Plus, when I started looking at the houses, like I had got approved for 170,000, right? 170,000. I was excited about that. But then when I started looking at houses in Florida, that couldn't get me much house, right? But in Columbia, it got me a whole lot of house, like 2,000 something square feet of house, right? So I was excited about that, right? And I knew God did that for me. So I knew I had to find a church and give my life to God, right? And so I did. I found a church by asking people, like, asking random people about churches, and I be looking for signs. So 3 people in random places told me about the same church that's on the Brook in Columbia. And they told me these life-changing stories about how this church was there for them, right? And I was like, I knew that I had to get in touch with this church or whatever. This one lady, she even put the app on my phone, so I started listening. And when I started listening, I knew yes, I'm going to go in this church because the pastor is who, I want to be in front of this pastor. And I did, right? So, and I told a story about that. Like, I started going to that church, and he said on there about the furniture, right? Because I ain't had no furniture in my house. And then God helped me furnish my house. I did a video on that, right? And so from there, right, God just started working on me, like showing me different scriptures in the Bible, allowing me to adjust myself and work on myself. I was going to therapy, uncovering like a lot of childhood traumas and a lot of just hurt and pain that I had been holding on to, not understanding like why things were happening and not being able to let it go, recognizing that I was building transactional relationships, not real connections, right? And like it's almost like if I do for you, then you good, but if I don't do for you, then you act out and you treat me bad, right? And I was building these relationships in my life with everybody, right? All these people around me. Basically, I had these kind of relationships with, but it was killing me in the inside, right? Because I got fibromyalgia, right? That's what they diagnosed me with. And fibromyalgia, it works really funny, right? Like, so having fibromyalgia is chronic pain, chronic widespread pain. And chronic widespread pain can cause you to have depression and anxiety, right? But depression and anxiety can increase this chronic pain. So if I get depressed about other things that's going on in my life, then my pain increase, right? So I got to keep my emotions under control to control my pain. So now it's very vital for me to control my emotions, right? So I'm leaning on God and I'm leaning on therapy so I can learn to control my emotions because I know my emotions get the best of me. God took me through many lessons to teach me and show me that my emotions were where I was struggling at and to show me how my emotions affect the people around me. So that is what brought me here, right? To share this with you guys because as a woman, our emotions guide us. We think emotionally, we act emotionally because we're supposed to, right? We are the emotional balance of our home. We are the nurturers. So if our emotions are off, it disrupts the whole house. Our children will emotions will be imbalanced and so will our spouse, right? God had to take me through so many lessons to show me the correct way to pick a spouse, right? What I'm supposed to be looking for in a mate, right? How I want to raise children, who I'm going to be, like what I'm capable of in life. And it reconstructed my view of myself, the world I live in, and how I move forward, right? And I want that kind of joy and peace like in everybody. I want to share that because I have not always been here. I had to release shame and hurt and rejection and pain and fill my heart with love and forgiveness because everything that I've been through built me to be who I am, right? The shame that I felt was because I was hurt and I was acting out of my hurt, right? I got pregnant and then I wasn't even sure like who my baby daddy was, right? So like, and I had buried that, right? And I had allowed that to develop these false attachments. And when my baby daddy would throw it up in my face, it would hurt me, right? But the truth is, I needed to face that, and I did. I faced that. My baby needed the answers, right? So I got the answers, right? We found out who her daddy was. She was able to meet her daddy, learn parts of herself. It was all in purpose, right? It allowed me to grow. It allowed me to break unhealthy attachments, right? That was the most important thing. I didn't even realize that the attachment was built off shame, right? Off shame of my own choices, right? So I was punishing myself for my own choices when I could just make better choices and move on with my life and give my kids a healthy life, right? You don't have to stay attached to unhealthy things. And I am living proof that when you allow those unhealthy relationships to diminish, they will. Because once they can't use you anymore, they will rid themselves of your life. You do not have to be upset with them. You forgive them for being who they are, right? And allow them to live their life and receive their own karma. You clear your heart, right? And you don't hold no grudges against people who didn't mean you no good. Why give them any more of your life, right? You move forward with your life and you be proud of what God brought you through. Not shame of what you been, where you been. Nobody can make you feel shame. Shame is within, right? God showed me to come to this platform. I had to be willing to be transparent, right? Didn't even know like certain parts of that I was so uncomfortable with myself, right? I did things to fix myself, right? I got my body done in like 2019, But since then, right, I started like being more intentional about taking care of my body, right? I didn't know that that's what it was going to do for me, but it did, right? It helped me to realize how important my own physical health and physical appearance was to me, right? Not other people, but to me. Like, it didn't matter what other people thought of me. It was about me. Like, even with my teeth, I got my teeth done. I got my teeth done because I wanted my teeth done, right? And then now I feel more confident coming in front of you and sharing all of these things that I've been through and allowing you to be a part of my growth and understanding that your change is within self, right? You make a different decision, right? You got to see yourself at way God sees you, because he sees you as fearfully and wonderfully made, right? You have to get back to that self, right? Recognize that if you love yourself, you and you intentional about how you love other people, you will accept nothing less, right? When people don't do you right, you will be okay with letting them go, right? And your life will continue to grow and flourish because your heart is pure and you keep your heart pure. If you keep your heart pure, nobody can use you or mistreat you because everything you did, it came from love, right? It came from your heart. So if they didn't appreciate it, it don't matter to you because you did it because that's what God led you to do, right? If you put God at the front of your life, if you cast your cares upon him because he cares for you, you will recognize that he will really change you. He really wants to bless you. You just have to surrender, right? The beginning of my story, I started with surrendering to Christ, telling Christ that I could not do it without him. You have to be willing to surrender. The only reason why everything is breaking around you is because you're still trying to operate in your own strength. God brought me to this platform to share with you a story of somebody who surrendered to God, right? It's not to brag or to boast. Where I'm at now is because God did it. And I give him all the glory, all the praise. And I will be here to love on you and to support you and encourage you, because walking with God and loving people when they don't love you back is not easy. It is hurtful. It is lonely, because at one point when you start to recognize who you are and you start to love yourself, you will recognize that the relationships around you are unhealthy and you will go into a place of isolation. That isolation is for your elevation, right? Because God want to open your heart for you to receive the people who are going to change your life, right? The people who are going to love you, because God is going to replace. He is going to give you good people, good outlets, good avenues. He is going to give you stronger discernment so you know when people are not right. He is going to bless you because your hands are open, not only to lose but to receive, right? You have to let go to receive God's glory. You cannot hold on to familiarity, right? And I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart because I lived this, right? I had to let go of everything that was familiar to me, everything that I thought was going to be my life forever, right? I had to let go of that and do something different. And it was scary. It still is scary, right? But it gets better and it gets easier. And I promise you, life will change for the better. And God will get all the glory. He will get all the glory because he is the one that did it for you. Surrender your own strength, right? And I just wanted to tell y'all a little background on me so you can understand, right? Like, you can come through anything, right? Abuse, right? Neglect, right? Like domestic violence, right? Being between homes, right? Like nowhere to go, right? No money, right? Like really struggling, like single parent, like not having nothing, to being able to experience anything like in life, right? Because if you have the heart to believe and know what God promised you, right? This Bible, right? God promises you Jeremiah 29:11, right? A life of abundance, right? Of hope, right? You got to hold on to that with everything. No matter what nobody's saying around you or about you, you got to know that what God said is real, right? It's true. But it only works if you hold on to that and nothing else, right? Quiet the voices, right? Like, I'm y'all. I love y'all so much. I thank y'all so much for listening and watching and sharing your stories and liking and commenting. Y'all subscribe, and I will keep them coming. If you want to know any more about any of those stories, right, I will share. I am transparent. I do not mind telling the whole story about everything. Like, I am here to show you that releasing you is the best thing you can do for yourself, and allowing God to guide you. He really will transform your life and make you anew, right? You are a new creation in Christ, baby. You have been chosen for such a time as this. You are here to make a difference, and I am here to support you along the way. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening.